Welcome to a Blathering Minisode. It's me, Ken Napzok, here in the studio. I don't want to say old school. I don't know what that even means anymore, but I have so much gray in my beard. I'm just a walking embodiment of old school. This is a video and audio podcast, but I think the spirit of this episode and these episodes going forward will be audio. This is a Blathering Minisode, the Three Things edition. Three Things is an old podcast I used to do right here on the Napzok network when it was called the Napzok Files. Three things on my mind. I tried putting in the live show, but I don't know if the energy connects with the concept behind the Blathering Live. So this is a Blathering Minisode. We still got the Blathering mailbag. I'm gathering more questions. I need more questions. If you have any questions for the mailbag, I'll go out, I'll grab them, and I'll go outside and shoot with the squirrels again. Just happy to have you all here at the end of the year, and that's one of the things on my mind. The first thing on my mind is on the Blathering Live. I think I take some of the darkest truths of myself, but not the serious ones, not the deep, dark, depressing truths, but the I don't really like that topping on pizza kind of guy. And we don't want to be that guy. I just put a short out about not being that guy, but that's kind of how radio broadcasts work when you're on the show a lot. When you're trying to do the AM talk vibe, you take the horrible thought and you explode it out, and you kind of say, I'm an idiot, right? And then you let people yell at you. In doing so, I really let some of my inner truths out, and they're truths. Always going to be played up. We're entertaining here. We're putting on a show, but they're always truths. I'm confessing them more than standing by them. And I don't love Halloween, and I don't really love, though I love the food of Thanksgiving, I don't really love Thanksgiving and the forced nature of a lot of holidays. In some ways, I really do believe holidays are an outdated concept, kind of just like me. It's not even, I don't know what I mean when I say that. It could be a little bit of just the forced family of it all. And I mean, talking about like the nuclear family, 2.5 kids. So you're not going to have kids, Ken, questions that have stopped. Thankfully, I think people have accepted it, including my folks. There's just something about that, but also a lot of it has to do with my old job and being in retail security, public safety for 17 years. And I didn't get a holiday for most of that. And it made me really bitter and resentful against people I love and care for. And I think that is kind of something I obviously have to work through, but also something that just is. So when you invite me to something, I'm usually like, hey, F off, man. And then I forget, like, oh, I could go. I don't work anymore. I could enjoy a Black Friday gathering because I'm not sleeping on the floor of my office and working 31 straight hours over a Black Friday weekend. But that's still there. But I say all that to say we're in what I'm going to call the Christmas season. As you all know, I'm a big happy holidays guy, because there is no war on Christmas. Okay, Christians, we pretty much in the Western world live in your world anyways. You've won, man. You've won. The culture is dominated by Christianity. And I'm someone who still says, I believe in God, the God, a God, some guy, something. I'll even transfer that to Jesus. Jesus is the reason for season. Great, lovely. But you've won. So Starbucks saying happy holidays. And by the way, Starbucks is a villain in a lot of other stories. But here I'll stand by a happy holiday cup. I don't even know if they do those anymore. They might have kowtowed to the Christian nationalists. But as I say it every year, but happy holidays is the right way. All right. I say that to say I kind of consider this, for me, Christmas season, the holiday season. But there's something about the iconography of Christmas and the trees, the lights, the Santa, all of it, even the eggnog. I actually do really like it. I actually do. Once we kind of get to December 1st, I embrace a lot of it. I don't decorate my house. I never really have. Even living on my own now, nothing really goes up. I don't even recall Grace and I doing a massive amount of decorating. No reason, no stance. I just like, I don't want to have to take it down. I grew up in a house where we did decorate, and we had some Jesus is the reason for the season signs up. Happy birthday, Jesus signs. I think one year, I think we baked the cake for Jesus on his birthday. It was good. I hope Jesus liked the cake we baked for him. I don't remember what kind it was. I just remember I wanted to do it, and I liked the cake because I just like cake. There's no reason I don't, but I grew up in a house where we decorated. And then my mom by like Christmas afternoon, would start taking the decorations down. And I make fun of it a little bit, but I kind of get it. All my neighbors around me, I'm kind of the bah humbug house, which again, it's why I think I wanted to speak on it today. The three things is about what's on my mind. And this is on my mind because I walked out of my house last night to go get a quick dinner with my friend Jason, and all the houses around me, the house next to me, we're bah humbug too, but everyone else has got pretty good displays. Modest, moderate, not over the top. No one's going to drive by to take pictures of these houses, but they're pretty big displays. And I was watching my neighbor over the weekend. He was putting one up, and I just was like, that poor cuss has got to, come back out and get the ladder out and get this storage trash can out, and he's got to put them all back in. That's not something I can't envision myself doing that. I can envision myself having a nice warm holiday home. It's the cleanup, man. It's the cleanup. But I really do love the Christmas season. But what's fascinating, and it makes sense, I'm a sad bastard music kind of guy. I think I love the sadness of Christmas. I always say this. I don't have an aversion to Christmas songs. I don't really want your Christmas mix because I'm just not going to listen to it. But I don't retch when I hear a Christmas song playing in Walmart or Target or any box store I get lost in and have to go get some organic eggnog at. I don't, chestnuts are roasting by an open fire. I actually like a nice, quiet, somber, sad Christmas song. I like the sadness of Christmas, and I don't know if it's supposed to be sad. It's supposed to be celebratory, even if you're celebrating the Christian Christmas concept. That's a He is risen. I know that's Easter, but this is like He's born, I guess I should say. That's a good thing to celebrate, I guess, if that's the team you're on. And the other times it's family, if that's what it is. Other times it's gifts, the receiving and the giving. These are all good things. And I've had joy at Christmas. But ever since I was a little kid, it's something about that end of the year. And the old podcast days, I used to do it's January 1st, we're turning the page, goals, not resolutions. And I still stand by that kind of stuff. I like the turning of the calendar. I like that. I like life being in this nice 12-month kind of thing to look back on. And I think that's where the sadness comes from. Even in a good year, this is not a good year for me. This is a really bad year, 2025. I'm not alone in that, of course, I know. But for me, it's been the most challenging year and remains the most uncertain and challenging time in my life. I don't know what 60 days is going to bring to me. But I'm sure as hell going to lean into myself and try to figure that out. But I'm ready to leave this year behind. But I also, even in happy years, get sad at the end of the year because then you're leaving behind the good times. And even in leaving the bad times, I'm real-time nostalgic. We talk about nostalgia a lot, both in our entertainment and the things we consume and just our own lives and the dangers of nostalgia. And I absolutely think that's true, but I also think there's something powerful in going back to things that made you, people that formed you, times that were important to you. I don't think that's inherently bad. If you live in it, if you stew in it and you don't move past it, I'd say that's bad. Or you just want it because you just don't want to try new things, all those kind of things. People smarter than me, above my pay grade, go have the nostalgia discussion. But I kind of like it in terms of the holidays. There's just this real-time nostalgia that I know I'm going to leave this year. And this year had a lot of struggles and challenges, but there's a lot of good things in it. There was a lot of examples in my life that people are there for you, that someone perhaps above in the sky, a mystery being in the sky is there for you. All this I've had a lot of these powerful moments these years of feeling loved, even when I think I was losing the love around me, and I'm gonna that's gonna be in the past, and we have a new year, fresh start, all those things. You never know how that's gonna go, but I think Christmas brings that out. I associate, even as a kid, man, I was so afraid to move into ninth grade. Now, for me, middle school, junior high was 7th and 8th. And I know for a lot of folks, it's 6th, 7th, and 8th, and maybe at 7, 8, 9. I don't know. But for me, it was elementary school ended at 6th grade, and 7th and 8th, and then high school was 9th. I was so afraid of ninth grade. I was so unsure of myself and so unsure of just a change. Also because I in 2 years, had got so used to the middle school, and was kind of ended middle school, 8th grade, a big cheese down at the old drama factory. I was kind of one of the stars of the drama department. Not the popular version. There was those kids, but I was the one that's like, respect that kid's got talent. And I didn't do anything with it, I guess. But I was so comfortable, right? And I was already nostalgic. Depression really found me when I was 12 or 13. That's when all the chemicals started pumping out the depression, I think. And I started to feel actively nostalgic for a moment I was in and knowing that I had to leave it. And I was so afraid of that. And that's, again, where some of the nostalgia can be dangerous. And I associated that with Christmas and the changing of the year and one more year forward. And 9th grade was so like scary for me. And then I ended up high school 4 years later in a good spot. But it was so big. It was so daunting. And looking back in the small town I live, it really wasn't. But at the time it does. But I just remember the holidays kind of represent. I remember just sitting there looking at the calendar during like Christmas of like 8th grade going, I'm only a couple months away from losing this. I don't want this year to change. And years later, add some rum to the eggnog, add a little more adult experiences and problems and trials and tribulations, and Christmas and the end of the year do carry a lot more weight than I had in 8th grade. But I think that's where it set in. And so I love it because I love facing the pain. I love dancing with the pain. I love hanging out with the pain. I love hanging out with the doubt. Doesn't mean I always solve it. But I think when I think of Christmas, I don't think all the good times of unwrapping G.I. Joe toys and Transformer toys and Star Wars. I don't think of those good times. I think of the sadness of I'm moving past this particular era of my life. And then it's kind of cozy. The sadness is cozy. Downtown Burbank and all around Burbank where I live, like a lot of towns in America, they put up the lights. They decorate the city. They do a good job, and then everyone else does it. I love getting some hot apple cider, getting in the car and driving around and looking at the lights. And I'll probably do that this year for the first time alone in 8 years. I'll go look at the lights, and it'll be sad a little bit. There might be a little tears, but I just think that's part of it. That's part of the draw of the holiday season, and I don't fully understand it. I'm trying to explain it, trying to purge it and see if it connects with you. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire. That's sadness to me, even though it might be packaged as comfort and love and warmth. But it's a good kind of sadness. So all the stuff I've said in the past about Thanksgiving and family and Friendsgivings and Halloween and I don't like your costumes. Yeah, it's true. I'm kind of a grouch. But when it comes to Christmas, I'm actually happy. Happy with the sadness of the cold month of December. At least for me. You could be in New Zealand and you're burning up right now. I don't know. So that's on my mind. How do you connect with the holiday season? How does Christmas land for you? Let me know. Another thing on my mind, as always, is music. Hey, the Moonagers. We just released a new song this week, and I always feel accomplished when that happens. It's a fun little side quest for me and Brian and Sean, but we love doing it there. So check out the Moonagers wherever you get your music, or go to Bandcamp, themoonagers.bandcamp.com, and buy the track directly from us there. Music's always on my mind, and over the last couple of years, one of my favorite artists, and I was 100% late to the game on it, is Hayley Williams, of course, of Paramore. Paramore is a band. It's not just Hayley. And I was always aware of that band. I couldn't tell you a song. I couldn't even really tell you her name. I think I know who that is. The red hair and the snarled lips. Yeah, I got it. Misery Business, got it. It was a different era for me. I was into a lot of different music in 2005 when Paramore's coming forward in that emo era. But in my time at pop rock and radio, I kind of discovered the joy and the talent that is Hayley Williams. I think one of the best front people in the business. Spectacular voice. All wrapped up in this, just absolutely adorable 5'2" package, and as an old lonely man like me, when I first saw her popping up on my Instagram doing all the dances and everything, it's like, who's this charismatic person? Oh, this is that Paramore girl. Oh, I never paid attention. My friends like Alden Diaz and everyone were like, Nikki Kumar were like, oh, welcome to our party that started 15, 20 years ago, and that's fine. But beyond just the initial moth to the flame that is Hayley Williams' talent, and quite frankly, attractiveness and all the kind of things, the things you look for in a rock star. I'm so glad I've bought a ticket to this Hayley Williams party to stand behind an artist who is absolutely not just using their position and their privilege to stand up and speak out, but just having it just be part of their very existence. I think Hayley Williams would be standing up for trans rights if she was your local barista. I think she'd have a trans rights flag on her lapel at a coffee shop. You know, that's who she is. And that means a lot to me because it's not just something I want in my rock stars. And not all the rock stars that I love do that. I'm a big Oasis fan. Noel Gallagher hates that kind of stuff, and I hate Noel for that, but I love Noel for that. It's a complicated world. But watching someone like Lady Gaga over the years, who I think is a good example of that, not perfect, but a good example, watching people like that truly speak out, watching David Bowie throughout the years, again, far from perfect, but watch him kind of being ahead of the curve on some conversations, him confronting MTV about their lack of black artists in the early 80s at the launch of all this thing is a famous interview. It's a famous pop culture moment if you're plugged into it, but it's an important, powerful moment of someone at the arguably the peak of their popularity. And David Bowie in the early 80s, he's had so many different eras, but this is post Ziggy. This is post Thin White Duke. This is David Bowie as a rock star in this new pop culture era in which names are going to be, launched higher up into the consciousness of our world beyond, Madonna, Cyndi Lauper, whatever it is. But like, he's no longer just David Bowie for the classic rock scene of the 70s. This is a superstar. And here he is speaking out about this stuff, but also just being forward thinking his conversations about the internet. Watching Frank Zappa, everyone sends around Frank Zappa interview clips. In fact, my friend, the great, wonderful Darina DJ Bruja, just posted the clip of Frank Zappa on that news show going around talking about the dangers of a fascist theology and a world built around legislation that is based on only one particular religious view or goal. And I think and I didn't grow up a Frank Zappa fan because I kind of wasn't allowed to grow up a Frank Zappa fan. But all that slides into, I just think the wonder and joy and the power that is Hayley Williams, who's out with a solo album, Ego Death at the Bachelorette Party at A or at the Ego Death. It's a great record. I love it. And, she has that song, True Believer, and she just recently played it on The Tonight Show. And yeah, this isn't a Jimmy Fallon commentary. Don't need it to be, but it's still The Tonight Show. And that doesn't carry the weight it once did. I got it. We're not even in Leno Tonight Show territory. We're definitely not in Carson Tonight Show territory. This is not the pop culture water cooler, watershed kind of factory anymore, but it's still The Tonight Show. It's still network TV, and it's still viewed by a lot of people. We can make fun of it, or we could say, hey, cable's dead, or we wish cable was back, but still that show, CSI Death Squad 3 Shreveport is still getting more views than a lot of other shows on streaming combined, right? It's still, there's a power to it. And she goes on, Fallon not too long ago, and Fallon, who has come out and said, we don't do politics here. We just smirk and we play silly games. And you know what? I will say, I don't really have a problem with that. I think that serves a purpose. We here at the Blathering love our silly Saturdays. I'd much rather just come on and debate our favorite lasagna styles. Tofu spinach lasagna is one of my favorites. I'd much rather have those silly conversations. I'd much rather just debate holiday movies, but I think it has its place because we need that. We are in a scroll world. And sometimes the horrible story is followed by a happy story, and we need that. And sometimes it's followed by something stupid. I don't love internet sketch comedy on Reels and TikToks. I have a thought about that. I'll bring up some other time. But also at the same time, I get why it's popular, right? We can't all be in this heightened sense of the fight, but it should never necessarily leave us. We just have to maybe set it aside for a moment or two or three. So I get all that. I get the Tonight Show, but it's still the Tonight Show. And not too long ago, Hayley Williams went on the Tonight Show with predominantly, I don't have the full roster in front of me, but predominantly a black orchestra a black band. I think some of her own band was in that, so that why it might look somewhat confusing on the shots. And she plays "True Believer," which is a song that covers a lot of things: fake Christianity, Christianity using the name of God to hide horrible things, the gentrification of Nashville, a place she grew up with after she moved there from Mississippi with her mom, and then just some dark truths about the South, invoking "Strange Fruit," the song "Strange Fruit," and this great line of "The South will not rise again until it pays for all its sins." It's a powerful song, and it popped up in my feed, and I watched it again. It's a great song, and she's just a wonderful performer, and I'm such a fan. But we don't have those moments as much anymore. Everything moves so fast. Everything is so just boom, 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 boom. And the best way to grow your song is probably to get it played on TikTok and have a nice gentleman on a skateboard drinking Ocean Spray, and suddenly Fleetwood Mac's popular again. Like, that's kind of the way to do it. And I've seen so many bands, and there's so many people I champion that just can't break through the algorithm. And I feel that talented bands like Child Seat, if you've listened to pop rock and radio, you've heard me talk about Jesse Pale and Kath Myers, who are just some of the best, man. And if this was the 90s, I think both of them would be stars. If music could be built the old way, and I know we can't go back the old way, and I benefit from the new way. I have a song out there right now with Brian and Sean and Jonas on drums that could only be there because you can kind of easily record things on your own, and you can use things like DistroKid and get them on out there, right? That wasn't the old way. But if the old kind of how we took in our pop culture kind of collectively as one, I think people like Kath Myers and Jesse Pale and bands like Living More and Child Seat, some of my favorites, would be a lot bigger. And it's not about fame. It's about survivability. There is no middle class for the artist anymore. That stuff is going away. It's going away fast. So all that to say, I am such a fan of Hayley Williams. In a world in which we don't have these big collective everyone gathered around the TV moments, not just using her position and power. And it's kind of the power of power, not in a Cersei Lannister way. But Hayley Williams has a certain amount of power and clout in the business right now, perhaps more than she's had since the early days of Paramore, but she's probably in a better spot, 20 years older, wiser, and more aware. She is not just simply using her position. She's being herself and speaking these truths in a powerful way. And I really look up to that because I am someone who shied away from that for a long time, probably because I was maybe ashamed of some of my positions as I worked through them. Not just simply about Republican or Democrat, but I just, I think just like I talked about having real-time nostalgia, I think I was having real-time doubt about being on the wrong side of history a lot over the last 15, 20 years. And that kind of boils down to, like Jimmy Fallon, we don't do politics here. Napzok Files is just a place to talk about your favorite 7-Eleven burritos. And 5-6 years ago, I realized I finally fully embraced the concept of speaking up, more importantly, the concept of being aware, and not just simply, we are going to use our position here as a very popular YouTube channel. This one ain't it, but I've been on popular YouTube channels, and I get the desire to just be entertaining, and I get the desire to avoid the chat blow-ups and the controversies. If you have a guest that comes on a show and says something and it's overtly political, that's going to cause a bunch of folks to be angry. I understand from a business standpoint, but I hid behind those reasons to just stay quiet. And I look at it as, I don't want to use my position. What position do I have? This is my business. And I still think some grace should be given to a lot of things. If you make money from something, you have to be careful with that means. If it goes away, it goes away. But again, I confuse using your position, using your platform with being who you are. It has to come through. It's more than just putting on a t-shirt like Hayley Williams does to say something important, protecting trans rights or fuck the Supreme Court or all those kind of things of standing up for abortion rights and healthcare rights. All the things she does in her shows. That isn't her just going, well, we got a show. I better slip something in to clear my conscience about speaking up. She does it because it's a natural extension of who she is. And I want to continue to be that. I want the silly conversations. They'll have it. I'm going to talk about sports in a second. I just talked about sad eggnog. I'm not going to sit here and act like an expert on foreign policy or wartime actions, but watching what's going on at the time of this recording with Pete Hegseth and the Department of War and the strikes on the boats in Venezuela. I need to talk about that sometimes, or I need to just process it, or need to mention it. I'm not going to turn away from it. I'm not going to turn away from the daily fights. I have more thoughts on during the holiday season, how it's hard to be around your families and why they don't get that politics should come between us. It should. We'll talk about some other time. But all that to say, I was watching an interview with Hayley Williams this week. I was watching that True Believer performance and then watched her interview with Amy Poehler, which was a great interview. It didn't get to horribly serious things. They had a great conversation about being sometimes the only woman or women in their spaces, music and comedy. Very valuable. There wasn't a lot of talk about politics. They didn't go into her using her stance. Hayley was just Hayley. Wonderfully, charmingly self-effacing and delightfully lacking of confidence, despite her being someone who is a beacon of confidence for so many people, including me. It was a wonderful conversation. The point is, I guess part of the point is they didn't get into the issues. They just were themselves. But I was so happy in this moment this week, being able to call myself a Hayley Williams fan. Not simply because of music. I still don't know a ton of Paramore tracks. I just like people who get up there, get in front of the world, and be who they are. And that person is in a position to help and speak up and stand up for so many people. I love that. And it's something that's on my mind. I'm needing to even get better at it. So thank you, Hayley Williams, for the cool music, the great moment on the Tonight Show. Stunning moment, really. I wish it was 1993, right? I wish he was able to do that with more of the world watching. But also thank you for being you. Final thing on my mind this week. It's silliness. It's a little silly. We're talking some sports. And we're talking about my Miami Dolphins. But more importantly, we're going to talk about one of the big reasons I'm drawn to sports and have been redrawn to sports in a way that I haven't been in the last few years. And it is the hope of sports. My football team was supposed to be better than they are right now this year. There was some hope, but also there was some truth hanging over it. And maybe that's one thing of sports. The hope of sports can also be undercut by the delusions of sports, where you don't understand or you don't want to accept who you actually are as a sports team. But my Miami Dolphins 2 years ago had a great season. And then they last year did not have a good one, and it started to collapse. And this year it was horrible. We started our 1-6. It's one win to 6 defeats. But as we stand now, we're 5-7. And for those who aren't football fans or sports fans, 5-7 is not a good record. But late in the NFL season, the way some things work, it means you might be in the playoff hunt. Now, I don't think we, as I say we, like I've played a couple years for the Dolphins, but that's how sports fandom works. I don't think we have a chance of making the playoffs beyond what I'm about to talk about. I don't think we're a playoff team. But here's the thing. We might end up being one. At 5-7, with other teams slipping and us playing better, getting some wins that would be considered embarrassing wins, but years from now, no one will look back and go, was that an embarrassing win? They'll just see it as a win. We're 5-7. And the Miami Dolphins, they, not we, they actually could make the playoffs. And as a fan, that's fun. It's a fan that's kind of silly, false hope, delusional, maybe. But it speaks to one of the reasons I returned to sports. and that is hope. That is the chance that we all have to get better and be better. I love it when teams, even teams I don't really love, turn around. Like right now, the New England Patriots are like one of the best teams in football. And you might be saying, haven't they been one of the best teams in football for a long time? Yeah, but over the last couple of years, and especially last season, they weren't good. So good, their one-year coach got kind of hosed and kicked out, and Mike Vrabel comes in, grows that silly mustache, which I know he wants to get rid of because it was like a bet or a thing, and I respect that. The quarterback that they drafted, Drake May, is playing really good, sooner than expected. The team is turned around. Their culture's turned around, and I love that. I don't love the Patriots, but I respect it. I love what's going on in Indianapolis. Their longtime owner passes away. His 3 daughters, kind of take over the team, and at the forefront is his daughter's oldest daughter, Carly, who's I've mentioned on the Blathering, and she's just spectacular. The culture change has been good. And even though their team's kind of fading, in fact, fading a little bit enough to give my Dolphins hope, to watch that turnaround, to watch the culture turn around, to watch this idea of you can get better, manifest and be real in front of our eyes is why I keep going back to sports. My Miami Dolphins are not in a good run. In fact, they haven't been in a good run for a long time. And I stopped watching sports because it was like, there was a lot of reasons I've talked about, but with the Dolphins, it was like, I just can't do it. I had the absence of hope. But I've watched this team win 3 straight and get to 5-7. And a lot of naysayers around the team, people that I love and respect as sports journalists, they're dubious. I'm dubious. But then I watched the clips of the team, or they got the players, they always mic up one player, and then NFL Films and the Dolphins will release 4 minutes of that player being mic'd up. I look at the team and they are connected. I think they believe in each other. They believe in the idea of getting better. And for me, who's been in a really bad year, I'm having a bad season. I started 2025, literally was like, I got a job, got a home situation that I like, and I got a big comedy show. We're going to have a big year in stand-up. That's happened on January 10th. January 1st is a great day to start anew. We're going to have a great year. Fires in LA start. It didn't affect me directly, but put this just darkness over the city. And on January 10th, I lose my job. And in April, my home situation changes. And it's just been a bad season. And I have really, really struggled with, at the beginning of every month, having a lot of fear because I'm 1 month closer to oblivion, meaning all of my pursuits and dreams and everything, I guess it has to go away, even though that has not happened. And I'm trying to rewire my brain into looking at the first of the month as not a, we just got here, but as a victory. I'm still here. I'm not eliminated. I'm not. There's hope. There's the hope to be better. And it's not a wish. It's an edict. It's a pathway forward. And that these challenges are the way forward. I had a great conversation with my friend Jason. I might to talk about more here on how when we're looking for the way forward and we see obstacles in front of us, that is the way. That is what you must fix. That is what you must overcome. The challenge is the path. And as I try to rewire my brain to go, it's the end of the month. I just paid rent. I'm 1 month closer to not knowing what the hell's going on with my living situation, my very life. I don't know. To stop looking at it with a sigh, to look at it with a, we're still here. And the chance to be better exists. So as I watch my Miami Dolphins crawl forward to 5-7, and we might quickly be 5-8, 5-9, and we're eliminated. And then that's the challenge. That's the path forward for that team. To be better, this is what's in front of us. How do we overcome it? And we can celebrate getting to this point and celebrate the path forward. That's why I love sports. There's always the hope and the promise of not just getting better and being better, but becoming better through your actions and your choices and the work you put into it. I'm hoping my Miami Dolphins finish at best 9-8, sneak into the playoffs, win a game. That'd be a lot of fun. But most likely that's not going to happen. But they've reminded me about the hope of a better tomorrow. That's it. That's the Blathering Minisode. I hope you enjoyed it. It's the three things on my mind right now. The sadness of Christmas, which I like. Hayley Williams and the power of power. And the hope of sports. Let me know what you thought about that. If you're watching here on YouTube, thank you for that. Subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the things we do here, whether it's the silly shorts I do, squirrel content, which I don't do as much because it really does mess up my algorithm, and the Blathering Live. Become a channel member so you can call into that or support on patreon.com/Napzok. From there, you can get into some other things like stand-up videos, exclusive things like the Young Guns 2 watch along, more on the way. I'm glad you're here. That's it. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Goodbye.